All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to unpack the incredible story of Terraform Labs and what turned out to be one of the most jaw-dropping collapses in modern financial history.
So let's just start with this number. $60 billion. That's how much the Terra crypto ecosystem was worth at its absolute peak. I mean, an entire empire built on what seemed like a revolutionary idea. And then, poof, in just 72 hours, nearly all of it vanished into thin air. A total and complete wipeout that literally erased the life savings of thousands and thousands of investors all over the world. So the big question is, how on earth did one of crypto's biggest darlings just implode so spectacularly?
Well, it all started back in 2018 with this really ambitious idea from its founders, Do Kwon and Daniel Shin. Their mission? To solve the one thing that was holding crypto back for mainstream adoption: its wild, unpredictable price swings.
Their solution was something called an algorithmic stablecoin, which they named Terra USD, or UST for short. Now this is where it gets interesting. Unlike other stablecoins that are backed by actual US dollars sitting in a bank somewhere, UST was designed to hold its $1 value using nothing but a really clever algorithm. Just pure code. It was an incredibly bold piece of financial engineering.
So the whole mechanism was this delicate, high-tech balancing act. You had two tokens, UST and its sister coin, Luna, that were tied together by this algorithm. The whole system really relied on traders jumping in to make a quick buck by exploiting tiny price differences, which, in turn, kept UST perfectly pegged to that $1 mark. In theory, it was a self-correcting marvel.
And man, for a while, it didn't just work, it soared. The market absolutely loved it. Investors couldn't get enough, and they started pouring billions and billions of dollars into the Terra ecosystem, sending its value to the moon.
The growth was just explosive. Think about this. In just a few years, Terra went from basically a nobody startup to the second largest DeFi blockchain in the entire world. Only Ethereum was bigger. And at its peak, the Luna coin was flying high, trading at over $119.
So what was the secret sauce fueling all this insane growth? Well, it was a lending platform called Anchor Protocol. And get this, it offered an almost unbelievable 20% annual return on any UST you deposited. 20%. But, and this is the really crucial part, that money wasn't coming from smart investing. Nope. It was being heavily subsidized, paid for out of Terra's own reserves, basically to lure people in and get them hooked. You know the old saying, if it sounds too good to be true? Well, this was a massive red flag.
And the confidence was just intoxicating. The founder, Do Kwon, became this huge crypto celebrity. He was known for being super aggressive online, constantly mocking his critics and famously calling them poor. I mean, the hubris was completely off the charts, and it became a central part of this whole story. But here's the thing. That entire system, that whole $60 billion empire, it was all built on a really fragile idea: belief. The simple belief that the algorithm would just keep working. And soon, that belief was about to face the ultimate test. Remember that self-correcting system we talked about? Well, critics had been warning for a while that it was just circular logic. One analyst had this great description for it, saying it was like two people trying to hold each other up on a sinking raft. In May of 2022, that wasn't just an analogy anymore. It became a terrifying reality. It all started on May 7th, when a couple of massive withdrawals knocked UST just a little bit off its sacred $1 peg. That's all it took. Panic just ripped through the market like wildfire. The algorithm went completely haywire, desperately printing trillions of new Luna tokens to try and prop up UST's price. But all that did was flood the market and hyperinflate Luna, crashing its value from $80 to less than a penny in just a few days. It was a complete and total death spiral.
The thing is, the collapse didn't just destroy UST and Luna. The explosion sent shockwaves, violent shockwaves, through the entire crypto market, kicking off a widespread financial contagion.
And that kicked off this brutal chain reaction, like dominoes falling one after another. Major crypto firms that had bet big on Terra, like the huge hedge fund Three Arrows Capital, bankrupt. Regulators all over the world started moving in. A global manhunt for Do Kwon finally ended with his arrest in Montenegro, where he was trying to flee on a fake passport. Ultimately, Terraform Labs filed for bankruptcy and ended up settling with the SEC for nearly $4.5 billion.
So, after all that chaos, what can we actually take away from this $60 billion failure? Well, the story of Terraform Labs is so much more than just a market crash. It's a powerful, powerful cautionary tale for the entire world of finance and technology.
Okay, so first off, it totally exposed just how fragile these purely algorithmic stablecoins are. See, unlike other stablecoins that are backed one-to-one by actual dollars, Terra's system was built on that circular logic. So when people's confidence broke, there was simply no floor. There was nothing there to stop the fall.
And let's be crystal clear, this wasn't just a market failure. A New York jury found that both Terraform and Do Kwon were liable for orchestrating a massive fraud. They had actively lied to and deceived their investors, making false claims about how popular their technology was, and most importantly, how stable it was.
And that really leaves all of us with a critical question, right? In a world that's filled with complex financial innovation, how do we tell the difference between a truly revolutionary idea and a house of cards that's just waiting to collapse? The Terra saga is this stark reminder that when hype and hubris and promises that sound too good to be true start to overshadow solid fundamentals, the consequences can be absolutely catastrophic. And that's why this matters. It forces us to look past the marketing and really question the real risks behind the promises of any new technology.